So one of the last posts that I did in the Empowering Empathic Abilities online forum group is on finding your inner shaman, journeying with your inner shaman into your own emotional realms, exploring your own emotional body, doing your own empathic work on yourself, and patrolling your emotional borders. And all of this I'm going to be talking about in my Healing and Empowering the Emotional Body class. But today I just wanted to do a video on it because I have found it is absolutely crucial and part of what we're all doing right now, which is finding our empowerment. And I think it's absolutely crucial for empaths especially, because really for everybody, a lot of what we do in this world is we try to control and fix the external world. We try to control things externally instead of going within. And in the process of doing that, we overpower people and people overpower us. And it's part of disempowering ourselves and allowing others to overpower us. And so getting empowered has nothing to do with getting strength that you're going to assert over other people. And it has everything to do with having control over yourself, gaining your own power, and knowing how to patrol your own vibrational borders. Meaning that anything that doesn't fit is not in alignment with who you are, you don't have to have it in your experience, period. It's not really about saying no to anyone, but it's about saying yes to you. It's about saying yes to what you need and who you are and what you want to accomplish and be and how you want to be in the world, how you want even your physicality to move in the world. And so one of the things that I've learned to do recently, even in this whole empowerment thing, is, for one, I've talked about as an empath completely unplugging as much as you possibly can from reading anybody else. And the only time I ever even explore anybody else's emotional body intentionally, with intention, is if I'm doing a reading. Other than that, I try at all moments and all times to focus on what I'm feeling, not what everyone else around me is feeling. And this is a big one for empaths because a lot of us, that's how we've learned to survive. If we can read a room, if we can understand what's going on around us, then we can be preemptive and we can adjust ourselves accordingly so we're not in the way, or we don't get hurt, or we don't hurt somebody else, whatever it is, whatever reason we may have developed this gift. And some of us are just born with it as well. So unplugging from the world around you and really tuning into your own emotional body, your own self, how you feel, what you need, how you feel, what you need. Any of you have been following my stuff, you know that's what I talk about, like above all else. And by the way, I just want to say that there are going to be times where that's different, because in each given moment and in each part of our expansion journey, what's needed is different. But in the realm of empowerment, when we're at a place where we're ready to be empowered with our gifts, empowered with who we are, and we no longer want to play the external game where other people get to control us and we control their people and we disempower people and they disempower us, when we're done with that bullshit, it's time to step into our own emotional bodies and say, okay, I 100% accept everything that I am. That means a lot of us, especially empaths, I think, or anyone who on a spiritual journey, we like to accept the parts of us that seem really spiritual or that seem really good, or a lot of us like to identify with things symbolically that feel good, like angels or enchanted beings or whatever. But it's much harder for us, especially as women, to identify with the hag, the crone, the witch, all these things that have been demonized by our culture but are actually our strengths. And not just women have these, men do too, because all of us have male and female energy within us. But especially if you notice, most things of the inner world, the inner realms, the power of emotions, our world is fucking terrified of emotions and of that whole world. And even if you look at what we've explored in the world, like the ocean being symbolic of feminine energy, being symbolic of the unconscious realm, the inner world, and it's sort of the most unexplored territory we have here on Earth. And I feel like it's definitely one of the most unexplored territories in our own lives. And people are scared of it. So for women especially, for anyone, for men and women, embracing our feminine power is huge, and no longer suppressing it, no longer suppressing those parts of us that seem as if they are bad. And so part of being empowered is embracing everything that we are, and especially really embracing the parts of us that are fierce, that are magic, that are chaotic, that are chaos, those forces, they're not bad. Those are not bad things. Out of balance, they can cause major destruction, but so can all the seemingly sky god qualities out of balance cause also a dictatorship, and no sense of personal freedom, all of those things that we've already found that doesn't work with sort of the more masculine attributes when they're out of balance. So I think as a whole species, we're finding balance between the two, but in a huge way, feminine energy is coming up, and this is all associated with the inner realms, the emotional realms, waterbenders, all of us that are in that realm, and magic, enchantments, that whole world. And I know for me, one of the things that has been really powerful is identifying with those things that I used to feel I was afraid to identify with, like the part of me that's a witch, like the part of me that is the hag or the crone, like the part of me that is destructive, the dragon in me that's super destructive, the fire dragon. And feeling like in balance, knowing that in balance, these things are actually part of my inner strength. And I don't have to be afraid of them. So how, and then I'm speaking, of course, symbolically. So how this might come out is saying those moments where you have to like be fierce about something and say, no, I'm not doing that. And I think for those of us who are really getting our relational vibrations in alignment with our higher self, our relationships are changing and people don't understand it. And it's understandable that they don't understand it, especially when we've facilitated codependent relationships. When you have given somebody the impression that you're their confidant, that you are responsible for their emotions because you've made yourself responsible for their emotions, when suddenly you pull back and say, no, I'm not responsible for your emotions, it's going to hurt because they don't understand. To them, it will feel like abandonment, and that's okay. They get to feel that, and it's a completely natural and valid thing to feel, but you're not responsible for it. And vice versa, if you feel people pulling out for you. And I think part of this empowerment space that we're all stepping into is really just really saying to ourselves and to other people, get your shit together. I'm not getting it together for you. So to other people, like, I love you, but get your shit together. And to myself, I'm saying, I love you, get your shit together. Like, no more of this dancing around and disempowering myself and disempowering other people. Because when we do this, we disempower people as well. When we say, oh, let me take care of you. Let me take care of your emotions. Let me do it for you. We are disempowering them. And then we feel disempowered all the time because our energy is stretched so thin all over between exploring other people's emotional bodies and plugging into them and not knowing the difference between where we end and where they begin, that we're exhausted. And a lot of empaths especially can't get basic shit in their life done because their energy is expended and emotionally and relationally with all the people in their lives. A good way to know that if you're doing this is if every friendship that you have or every relationship you have, that person tells you you're their best friend, or you're the only one in their lives that they feel they can trust, or whatever. You're everyone's confidant. That's a big indication that you're doing that. And I understand that a lot of us, we do genuinely want to help people. And I think a lot of the times we feel, again, when we're doing the external game, we feel, well, if we're helping others, we're also helping ourselves, which is true to an extent. But it's kind of a roundabout way of doing it. We're having to disempower ourselves to do it, or disempower somebody else to do it, rather than, no, I'm going within and I'm stepping into my own power. And one of the strongest emotions that block our own sense of personal power is shame. Shame is the number one emotion that blocks the solar plexus chakra, which is where we hold the energy of our personal power. And the reason we have shame is because we've been playing the external game, because we have hurt people with our power, and we have been disempowered and been hurt by other people. So the whole concept of power is a tricky one for the human psyche, because power has been what we feel has been the most destructive, whether for good or for ill. Like the sense of power, where we're suspicious of someone who wants power, we're suspicious of people who are powerful, we're suspicious of power, period. But when we're playing the external game, it makes sense why we would be. But if we're doing the internal game, I'm going within and I'm being empowered within so that I can take care of my own shit. Because nobody else is responsible for me. Nobody's responsible for me. And of course, again, at different stages of our empowerment journey or of our expansion journey, we're going to need different things. So I'm specifically talking about clearing and healing your solar plexus, your sense of personal power. There is a point in which you're going to need the energy of take care of your own shit, I can't do it for you. And I have to take care of my own shit. It's that tough love. That tough love that is a superpower. And it's that aspect of us that is fierce. And one of the things that I like, that one time when I was, just recently, I was doing a meditation, and I was working through some of the stuff that has been coming up for me with, as I've been really having to just say yes to me, which often means saying no to other people. I've had to deal with feeling guilty, feeling guilty because I can feel what they feel and I feel responsible for it, and I've really been letting that go. And during one meditation, I literally saw, in my mind's eye, a black leopard jump out of me. And it was a power animal aspect of me that I have suppressed because I've identified with the more gentle, the more like friendship like a wolf, more like I'm loyal, those sort of things. But the black panther, or the black leopard that came out of me, she jumped out of me and then was like patrolling my vibrational borders. And she would just swat anything that didn't belong. Just like her sense of grace, inner strength, and power, even though she was fierce, it wasn't a personal thing. Like when you watch an animal, if you watch like a black leopard, for example, they just have this dignity and grace and a sense of personal boundary that it's inspiring. It's not scary. I mean, obviously, if you fuck with them, it's scary. But if you leave them alone, it's just like power restrained. And that is the part of me that I had been in the past the most afraid to identify with. But it is part of me. Just as the hag is part of me, just as the witch is part of me, just as the crone is part of me, just as a mother is part of me, just as the goddess and every aspect of the goddess is part of me, and just as masculine energy is part of me. So the quote-unquote negative and positive aspects of humanity are a part of me. And so part of the empowerment is identifying. Like if someone's like, okay, you're being a bitch because you blah, blah, blah. Yes, you can just identify with it. Yes, I am. Yes, that is a part of me. Unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, but it may feel unfortunate to other people, but yes, that is a part of me. That is a part of me. So embracing all that you are is part of your empowerment. And then it's power controlled, because we keep it under our higher selves. And our higher selves, I don't just mean like the God, sky God aspect of us. I mean the underworld God aspect of us well. The sea goddess, or the sea god, the Titan. It's both our inner worlds and our outer worlds, or our upper and lower, whatever, or horizontal, every direction. It's the God in every direction, the power in every direction, coming together, taking form in the heart, and moving in that way. And it's actually the most loving thing that we can do for anybody, is by integrating all aspects of us and accepting all aspects and worrying only about our shit. Because when we have control over our vibrations, we are less likely to hurt people. So again, it can be a scary step to really allow yourself to be empowered, because we're suspicious of power. We're suspicious of what people will do with power. We're afraid of being hurt by other people with power. That's why we feel a little bit threatened, or when someone else is like talking about empowerment, there's a sense of like, ooh, wait, like, are they saying they're more powerful than me? And then when we step into our power, we have a sense of shame, like, oh no, I don't want to hurt anybody, because we have in the past. But when we hurt people is when we put our power in the external. And what true empowerment is knowing your power within and being able to move from that. The power of love, the power of fierceness, the power of being fiercely protective of your emotions. That's the mother quality. All of these things, there's so many different types of power, but when we put it all under love, keep it in our heart center, we can move in a way that's much more healthy and integrated for everyone around us. When we release responsibility for everyone, we quit disempowering them, and then they won't be threatened by us. So it's really a process of stepping into who we are. But right now, for this part of the journey, for those of us that are stepping into our power, the energy that you need to carry, that I think is important for us to carry, is, I love you, get your shit together. That's the energy. It's like, I love you, get your shit together. I love you, get your shit together. Like, because I love you, I'm saying you can do it. And because I love myself, I'm saying get your shit together. That's our superpower at this point. And there's obviously many other aspects of expansion. But in this place of empowerment, especially when we're unplugging and cleaning up the vibration of really unhealthy dynamics and relationships and codependent relationships, it is time to say, I love you, get your shit together, both to yourself and to the people around you. And do not take responsibility for how anybody feels. Okay, I love you. Ciao.